Hello and welcome to the GreenSharp PI Crawler showcase. So the PI Crawler was designed to help developers and administrators to understand and document the integration scenarios which are running on their PI systems. It helps in the upgrade planning because it gives you an idea of how many ABAP objects you've got, how many Java objects you've got, whether there are BPMs, and various other information about your systems. And it provides lots of functionality for day-to-day running as well, such as the configuration of multiple PIPL systems, online and offline functionality, the cataloging of configuration information, an object search, and an advanced object search, which allows you to find objects with certain characteristics. For example, all SOAP receivers, which use an HTTP proxy, for example. So after installation, this is the screen that we have. It invites us to start the setup. So in order to start the setup, we need to define at least one system. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and show you the define system screen. We've got no defined systems at the moment, but to add one, we simply put give it a label, the SID, the host, the port, the username, and the password. Then when we click on create, those details will be copied into here, and we'll be able to test the connectivity to it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, so that's done now. We've got our system details here. We can do a connectivity test to it, and that's all okay. Test to it, and that's all okay. The home page, and we see we've got a few more options here. So the first main difference is that we've now got some online functionality. We can see that we're currently connected to the system that I've just defined. So the online functionality available is basically to view all of the configuration objects that there are on the system at this moment. So if I click on scenario list, we get a list of all the scenarios that are currently on this system. Now this list is filterable. So for example, if I want to check out my brand site's configuration scenario, I can, and I can see that in detail. So here I can see when it was last changed. I can see the integrated configuration objects that are in there, the business systems involved, the business components involved, and the communication channels involved in this scenario. If I click on one of the integrated configuration, here I can see a flow diagram of how this entire process is working. So it starts off from a sender called BC Brand Sites. It comes in on this SOAP channel. There's a dynamic receiver rule, which is ruled by this operation mapping here. And we can see that it gets split into 3 different receivers. So we get this one, and this one. This is the receiver interface, and these are the channels on each separate system. If I click on one of those channels, you can see the details about the actual channel. So this is a SOAP sender, synchronous, and active. These are the, let's say, the most important attributes, I would say. If I go back, we can check out one of the receivers, and here we can see it's a SOAP receiver. We've got the target URL. We can see if there's authorization used on that URL. We can see if it's using a HTTP proxy or not, and obviously the adapter status. These are all information that could be important to an administrator or to a developer. So that shows some of the online features. This is actually a very good way of sort of an automatic documentation of your flows. So it's something that's useful to developers, administrators, IT managers. It's useful functionality. So if we go back home now, we can come to the offline functionality of the tool. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to scan all the objects on the system, and it's going to write those locally so that we can consult them even if we're not connected to the system. Now this could take a few minutes because it actually calls each object and pulls down all the data for them. So I'm going to start that going now. And as you can see, it updates the status as it's going. So I'm just going to leave that to run for a few minutes, and we'll see it when it's finished. So here we are back at the home page again, and as you can see, the scan is completed, and you've got the last execution date here. So we can go and see what the scan's actually given us. So we have a total count of objects split by type of object. And here the important thing to notice is that when you're planning to do an upgrade, an upgrade to a single stack system, obviously the 7.5 system is now a single stack. The important thing is to minimize the number of ABAP objects that you've got to convert. Here we're already on a single stack PO system, and so we have absolutely zero ABAP. And important as well, zero integration processes. So this, for example, would be a candidate for a relatively simple upgrade. There's no conversions to do, there's no BPMs to worry about, so this would be one of the more simple upgrades to do. If we click on the communication channels, we get a split of the communication channels by type. So here we can see we're using mostly SOAP and AS2. Spazio is a custom adapter for file moving, and all the rest are used relatively little, let's say. We also have the communication channels by system, so which systems are actually involved in the integration processes. And here we have channels by direction, so sender, receiver, and channels by status, active, inactive, and not specified. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you quickly the offline functionality, which appeared after we executed our scan. And this is here's a simple object search. For example, let's try and find my brand sites that I wanted to see before. And here we are. We can see that there are 4 communication channels, a configuration scenario, and a business component, which is dedicated to the brand site scenario. So now I'm going to go ahead and add a new system as well. So this was our first system. Now I'm going to add a different system. And as you can see here, this has turned into a drop down. So now let's see if the system's responding. It is, that's good. And we can even change now to that system. As you can see, this has become the highlighted system. So now if I go home, you can see we've still got the online functionality, and this now is going to point to the other system, which is a dual stack ABAP system. So here, for example, integrated configurations, we have very few. The functionality is still the same. So you can still go, you can see the flow of the icon and all the rest of it. But here we have a lot more, for example, sender agreements, because these are the old ABAP objects. So I'm going to go ahead and execute the scan on this ABAP system as well. We're going to leave this for a few seconds, and when it's finished, we'll see the scan results for this system. Okay, so the scan's finished, and we're back here. So now we can see how this scan differs from the other scan. And in fact, we can see that here we have many ABAP objects. So objects that work on the dual stack, and some integration processes as well. So this obviously would be a candidate for a slightly more difficult upgrade. Probably we would put this in the medium-high category. and we would need obviously to evaluate the integration processes and all the rest. We have the same information about the communication channels, so by type, by system, and by sender receiver status and status.